The Chinese Ministry of Defense spokesperson Wu Qian urged the U.S. not to implement China-related clauses in the newly signed law, the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2020. Wu says the clauses contain negative stances regarding China's Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Xinjiang, and that the Chinese military opposes the move.
该法案涉华内容充斥冷战思维。
The act has a Cold War mentality, hyping up competition between the U.S. and China and its so-called military threats. This act severely interferes with China's internal affairs and violates the One China principle, as well as the 3 joint China-U.S. communiques. It also undermines the two countries' military relationship by hurting mutual trust and cooperation.
Wu also denounced recent critical comments made by high-level U.S. military officials on China's military spending. Wu points out the U.S. can be criticized for its own military expenditures.
美国2019财年
America's national defense expenditure in 2019 was as high as $716 billion, and the recently approved 2020 National Defense Authorization Act increases spending up to $738 billion, which makes up more than 40% of the world's total military spending. How can the U.S. not feel ashamed when it accuses other countries of having large military expenditures?
Wu also made a note of the U.S. establishment of a space force, saying this in itself is a serious threat to peace and security in space. Wu also refuted another accusation that China has been threatening the freedom of navigation in the South China Sea.
从美国在南海的表现看，
Considering America's moves in the South China Sea, we should call it navigational hegemony instead of freedom of navigation. This kind of move seriously violates the sovereignty and security interests of countries in the region, damages peace and stability in the South China Sea, and endangers the lives of soldiers on the front line. It's extremely irresponsible and dangerous.
Wu called on the U.S. to bear in mind the bigger picture, correct its mistakes, and work with China towards achieving non-conflict, non-confrontation, mutual respect, and win-win cooperation. Wang Hui, CGTN.